Okay, hello everybody and welcome to the latest edition of the Buy Round, here with none other than one of the best blokes in the game, endorsed by Jeremy Latimore as well, so that must be true. If he thinks you're a good bloke, then it's always true. Jeremy never lies, as we all know. Thanks for joining us on the Buy Round.
Hey, great to be here. What a spot. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
I want this for my own home.
Mate, this episode is going to be brought to us by new friends of the show. That is Token Spot. You're doing a little bit of work for them, aren't you, Groover? Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I'm pumped that they're on board today because, to be here and obviously be you guys are, sponsored by Token Spot. It's a great initiative by these two blokes I met, Alex and Mark, mate. These guys are great people, come up with an awesome idea and sort of gave me a call and just sort of sat down and run me over their concept and absolutely love it. It's a bit of an idea about creating an NFT.
Yeah.
You could probably say sort of like a new sort of football card is probably the best way to explain it. And every football card that you get will have a utility value on it. So say, for example, you get one of me. It'll be a utility where it might be go out and have a game of golf with Luke or go to a training session or whatever we come up with, something that we love to do away from rugby league. People out there that buy the card will get time to spend with you and actually go out and do the things that you love and build relationships, really. And, mate, awesome. I love where they're going with it, and I'm involved with it and can't wait to see how it's all going to pan out. It's very early days at the moment, so we've still got a lot of structure and planning behind it that's got to get done, but the initiative that they've taken and be able to take that fan engagement to the next level is awesome.
Yeah, it does sound really interesting, the concept of it. I have a very shallow understanding of how NFTs work, but having that utility value, that it's something tangible, it's something you can actually. It's more than an NFT, isn't it? Because it's an experience.
100%. And the other thing is too, like, with NFTs and understanding it, the way that they've set it up, it's actually just real money. You know what I mean? So people will buy it. It costs you, let's just say, $1, whatever, and that dollar goes into an account which will be evenly dispersed. It will go through to charities and go back to the player, and then also to help with marketing. But it's just it is blockchain technology, but it's not crypto.
Yeah.
So everyone gets a little bit skeptical. Is it crypto? This, that, and the other. It's not. It's just the technology behind it all.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm looking forward to learning more, and new friend of the show. So who knows? The Buy Round might have a token.
Good people to be involved with, mate. Awesome dudes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Before we get into your amazing playing career, like winning the grand final at 20, Clive, Churchill, Medallist, all the, played for Australia, New South Wales, all that. What else are you up to these days? Obviously, we've formed a bit of a friendship over the past few years. We've never actually played together, but sort of live in the same area. It's not quite, well, I shouldn't say that because you are beachfront. I am a few suburbs away from the beach, but we're in. There's when it was locked down, we were in the 5K area. So if I'm in the 5K area of Luke Lewis, I know I'm doing all right. So
Mate, it's funny you say that, because when I first moved to Cronulla, I thought Cronulla was basically from Engadine all the way down to the beach. I said, I used to drive up Heathcote Road, get to Engadine, and I feel like I'm in Cronulla, So, man, I'm hearing you. You're not that far away. I was. Very lucky. I just got into a really nice area at the right time, and I was actually on a kangaroo tour at the time, and I had done my shoulder in the fence and come home, and the house.
St. Helens?
Yes.
Yeah,
was
that.
So
that game?
we were playing Fiji at the time, and I come home to get my surgery done, and the house came on the market. So that's how it all worked. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, nice. But okay, we've formed a bit of a relationship. We go to the same gym. Don't exactly train at the same time. You're a bit more of an early bird, but we do. We formed a relationship, and I'm very interested in what you're up to now. And lots of people transition out of the game, and they don't quite know where to focus their energies, or they fall into some stereotypical roles. What about yourself, mate? I know this could last a whole podcast, last a couple of hours about what you're up to now. But obviously you're a big trainer at the gym. Let's start there.
Well, mate, I love training. It's the only thing that's kept me structured since rugby league had finished. I had about 2 weeks off after when I retired, and I thought, I got to get back to training. Didn't know what to do. So I found a group, went down and started training, got myself back into that routine every morning of keeping fit and trying to lift weights and just keep me sort of morning structure right. It's something I'll never forget. I'll never stop doing. I think I'll just do it to the day I die. It's something I absolutely love. I'm passionate about. I'm a big believer that it's a doctor for me. Like talk about mental health, this, that, and the other. I've been blessed to have some people beside me, and one of your good mates, Jeremy Latimore, is my right-hand man, mate. We go to the gym every morning, and, mate, we have a good laugh. We lift heavy. We go hard, and we get into a little sauna every morning after it, and we call it the sauna of secrets, so we get everything off our chest. And, mate, it's bloody awesome, So we try and tell the boys all the time, if they've got any dramas or anything's going on and they just want to talk, mate, come and meet us at the gym at sort of 7:20 after we've finished our session and, mate, jump in the sauna for half an hour. But yeah, training's been a big part of my life, and that sort of leads me down a few ideas that we're trying to sort of set up at the moment. Me and Jeremy are talking about setting up a gym for all sort of retired athletes as well. But it's a lot harder than I suppose you initially think, trying to find a site, come up with the concept, and the business model is actually okay, but the site part is the hard part, trying to find a place where you can sort of set up where it's sort of central to everyone, parking, all this jizz jazz, getting the right rent. It's just a bit of a nightmare, but people out there would understand. But it's been a great process.
Have you got the concept at the moment? Are you going to look for a chain of gyms or start completely afresh?
We've gone down a couple of different roads, but we're looking for a chain of gyms or we could get in with a development team where we could just sort of open up every time a new development opens up into different areas. We've also got another concept where we'd like just to have one big one where it's a main hub where all ex-players can come in, not just football players, but that have retired from any sport, and sort of have like a little bit of a communal area where they can have their own business set up, work out of their own little office, but there's all ex-athletes around, and then try and get big corporate businesses come in and train there also, and just sort of create that sort of relationship between business and ex-athlete.
Yeah, like a business to business almost.
Yeah, that's right, and give them an opportunity outside of rugby league, or so they can still use their identity, I suppose. But it's easier said than done.
Would that be part of almost changing the culture on how things work as well? Like, stereotypically, it's let's go and have a beer together. You meet people within business, and it's let's go and have a beer together. It's actually let's go train together.
Let's go get sweaty.
Yeah, let's go and train together and have 100%. A conversation around some potential projects in the making, but not under I'm just going to use alcohol as a sort of a social lubricant. Yeah. It's more of let's lift. You let your guard down a little 100%. Bit when you train as well, and that could be a great way to make those introductions.
Absolutely.
I agree. I like the concept.
I found most of my great relationships and friends that I've built have all come from a training background where I've met them in the gym or I've met them out in the field or doing some sort of challenge together where you've got to get deep and dark with each other and you've got to trust in each other to help you get through the session, and you sort of just build this different kind of relationship instead of going out, getting on the drink, and everyone loves that. It's great. It's great to go out and have a good time as well. But I'm not a big drinker, so I had to find a new way to sort of build relationships. I never really got into the drinking or the party scene, So I did when I was younger. I got a little bit of trouble, and then I sort of got out of it. But that was our whole concept behind it, and just feeling good, being able to sort of go train, get sweaty, get dark, like I said, but then being able to go and have a coffee after it and just sit down and have a chat and have a laugh. I think it just sort of breaks down that whole relationship. But that's an idea, But then we've actually got a whole lot of things going on as well. I've been lucky enough to jump into a really good business called iDeliver, which is probably.
Oh yeah, you told me a little bit about this.
Yeah, this one here for me is probably my number one at the moment on the list. We've got a lot of great things going on. I'll give you basically sort of rundown. iDeliver is basically, anything delivered anywhere. No, nothing too big, nothing too small, but instantly, 7 days a week, Monday to Sunday. If you need, let's just say, a new fridge or a new television on a Sunday afternoon, you want to watch the grand final and something's gone wrong, but you want to go down and buy a new 75-inch TV and you can't get it home, you haven't got the right car, well, you just jump onto our app, post your purchase order, and the car or the ute or the truck or the van, whatever you pick, we'll go pick it up and deliver it to your house straight away for you. So that's sort of our concept. It's like basically like click and collect, delivered to you anytime, anywhere. Nothing's too hard. So everything's going really well. We've got we're sort of targeting the construction sort of side of it, where if you've got a builder on site at the moment and they've run out of screws or bricks or whatever they need, they can just put in their order. Our guys will go pick it up and deliver it on site for them. That's our main goal. And then slowly, mate, if you need a pair of shoes from Rebel picked up or delivered to your house, we can go get that as well. So there's nothing too big or too small we can't do.
So you're looking to shave time off for the workers. This would be a service to ultimately save them time.
So instead of them leaving the job site, mate, they can stay on the job site, put their order in, we'll pick it up, get it delivered to you straight on site. You keep doing what you got to do and make sure that you get the job finished that day as well. Instead of taking an hour off, going down to Bunnings or whatever it is, picking it up, going back, setting yourself back up, there's an hour and a half. You probably lost an hour and a half in wages, you know what I mean? So we just fought convenience.
Well, there are some tradies out there just going, no. Like
100%.
That's my downtime.
Yeah, that's my time to go.
Some people don't enjoy efficiency. Some people like long drawn out processes.
That's true. Well, hopefully we get hopefully the bosses like that idea where you can just get the job finished.
If you're a tradie and you're thinking, well, hang on, if it takes me half an hour to get to Bunnings, half an hour back,
it's an hour. Another 20 minutes to set up.
Just swing by the pub on the way back. Oh, sorry, I'm going to be on like 2.5 hours. You're taking this away from them. Yeah. So there might be some listeners out there, that are going, can we just delete this out of the,
but he's saying that
chat because they don't want their bosses to find out about I deliver because they're going to be on the job site for
That's probably true. But
and they can't listen to a podcast like this while they're driving. So
what if they're doing
let's scrap that.
If they do it on a Friday arvo though, and they get the job finished, and I have to wait till 5 o'clock to get it done by 3. Well, Friday afternoon at the pub by 3:30. Yeah, good. Do you know what I mean? So. Depends on how you look at it.
Every cloud has a silver lining, as they say.
That's it, mate.
What about anything else? Are you still involved with the Sharks, I believe, as well?
Still doing a bit of work with the Sharks, just a bit of ambassador stuff, which I really love being involved with the club. I absolutely love the club. Obviously got to win the grand final there. And to be able to go down and see Fitzy and what the boys are doing whenever I want, it's awesome. Fitzy's always said you're always welcome to come down and train with the boys whenever you want as well. So it gives you that, if you want to get down there and just sort of get the endorphins out, you can. The door's open. I haven't. I wanted to. You did say to me in pre-season, mate, just jump in and do the session with him, but I didn't want to get the bug. I didn't want to put myself in that situation and go, mate, I want to get back in and start playing again. So I just kept saying no to it and didn't end up doing it. But who knows? Skills Games Day, I'd like to get involved. That was always fun.
You do have utility value as well, so you could almost slot in anywhere. Across the back line, in the forward pack.
Mate, I'll be honest with you, I would have had so much fun doing it, but I had to stay away from it. So, but I do love going down to the club, and Fitzy's been amazing, and mate, life's pretty good at the moment. Mate, and you want to talk about other things that go. I also set up another thing for the players. Actually, it's called LCI Sports. Me and Jeremy Latimore have actually got together. We were having a chat about it, and we just seen a lot of kids that were getting big contracts and weren't getting the opportunities with investing their money the right way. So we sort of got together with a company called LCI, and LCI actually stands for Life Changing Ideas. But they basically do from start to finish financial planning, accountancies, they've got lawyers, they've got lending, anything you can think of, we've got there. But the big draw card for me is that it's very hard to get into a consortium of blokes who are very smart with business and developments unless you know someone. Yep. So, mate, these guys are great. They get a lot of development sites come across their desk. They've got a really good couple of guys who put all the sites and developments together, and they go out and look for a group of guys to invest in these sites. And I thought it was a massive opportunity for players to invest their money while they're playing and get a good return on their money. So we're slowly starting to build that up. It's been a slow process, but we're slowly starting to get there now. So hopefully up and running by end of October.
Yeah. So are you going to be looking after players' contracts?
No.
Or it's just
staying away.
Yeah, staying away from the contract side of things. You're not going to interfere with that. And
so we don't want to step on anyone's toes, especially the managers. We'll make sure the managers are looked after and all their players are looked after. Our main goal is if we can make sure that the players are playing their best footy, they just worry about playing football, we can help them with life after football, what's going on, and invest in their money. So when they do walk out, they've got some really good things happening for them there, good opportunities working on the outside of why they're playing football. Because everyone says you need to make sure you have a plan B, but when you're playing footy, you know what it's like. You can't. You've got plan A, you've got to make sure you're preparing your best to be the best you can possibly be on the footy field. So we wanted to sort of take that out of their hands where we could really help them make sure they're getting the traction that they need. So when they walk out of footy, they've got a bit of money in their back pocket and a lot of investments working for them. Their money's working for them. And their managers can do their best job as well, just focus on getting their best deals. So that's our main goal.
It's so important, isn't it? Because, you can when you sign a big contract or you're earning money, a lot of kids that or young adults that play rugby league, they don't come from very much, and all of a sudden you get money that makes you feel like a millionaire. Some of them will be millionaires, like the richest people that have ever lived. Oh, I've got this first contract. It's like, it doesn't last forever, and you can get lost a little bit.
100%.
I think that there's definitely a gap there in professional sports, because a lot of people, well, most people that make it, especially in rugby league, they don't come from money, and they don't know what to do with it. And I think that's a great service. And, you know, I think a big thing with that is trust. You know, you as a player, you get your head turned all the time. But going to somewhere like that where, you know, you've got a very good reputation, you're very trustworthy, you've done it all across the game, you've come from out in Penrith, moved to Cronulla, you know, it's clear that you've had a great career. I think that's a great initiative, and I think, you know, any young footballer out there listening, when they get that contract and they're, you know, not quite sure what to do, that'd be a great place to turn to.
And the other thing is, too, you know, when you sign your first contract, you sit there and you think it's going to happen for years, but you literally could sign one contract and that's it, be done. Yeah. So if you can put my main goal is if we can get all these guys that have just signed a new deal and just make them focus on their footy and be the best possible version of themselves and a rugby league player, and get them to the standards that they want to get to, and they don't have to worry about that little thing on the other side about buying a property, investing their money in the right areas, or, you know, just letting it sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
We've got the right guys to help them out. So that's what I love about it. And the other thing is, I've been there and I was lucky enough to experience, you know, getting told that I'm going to help you do this, going to help you do that, and actually no one ever helped you. So instead of going out and buying, like I did when I was young, buying a car and buying a boat and living life, which was awesome. I wish if I had my time over again, I would have went and bought, you know, a couple of extra units and a couple other, you know, others a bit more.
What car did you buy? Different
things that I probably would have got tipped into if I had a proper financial planner and accountant, you know.
So what was your financial advice to young Luke Lewis at the time? Like, what did you go and buy?
Well, mate, I was still living at home at first when I signed my first big contract, and I was paying hardly any rent. So how goes this? I got like,
what's hardly any rent? Because we need to be precise.
I was paying like $25, but then my mum was putting
a week,
which was basically just to get the bread and milk. But
because you would have been a big eater, that wouldn't be.
I would have my mum out of house and home back then, but yeah, that would have been nothing, you know.
And then you rock up with the boat and
I rock up.
Sports car.
It's funny. I'm sitting there and my account's just like all my money's going in and saving. It's getting bigger every month. So enough to go and buy this mad ski boat, and then used it every day, every weekend that I wasn't playing, or if we played on a Saturday, I was out in the river on the Sunday. Had a great time, but I think it cost me about 70 or 80 grand back then, and then ended up selling it for like 30. I'm thinking, well, what have I done? You know, but I had an awesome time, but I just wish, mate, that amount of money back then, I could have done a lot of things with it. I think the houses back then were only 250 grand. Could you imagine? Anyway, but live and learn, they say.
So they say. Obviously, as well, you've got a role on the radio as well. I'm assuming this all helps. It must be hard to fit everything in, but you enjoy the radio work?
I love the radio, mate. It's the best gig in the world. I've got a great team, and look, for me, Andrew Moore, I just love being with him, mate. He's very smart at what he does. He's probably one of the best callers I've ever heard, you know, and mate, just to be able to have the opportunity to walk out of footy, get my footy fix is what I love about it. So I can still rock in, see yourself in the background. You know, you get to run into Billy Slater and all the boys you played with or against, and have a little bit of a laugh and a chat, and then 10 minutes later you're back on air and you're talking footy. So sort of get your footy fix over the weekend, and you're doing something you love. But the best thing I love about it is you rock up like this. You got a pair of shorts on, T-shirt, you can wear a hat. You know, no one's looking at you. They can only hear your voice. And you know, obviously, I'm not perfect with my words, but I've come up with a dictionary. They call it Louis' Dictionary, which is slowly starting to grow, which is all these made-up words. I don't know where they come from. They come from the back of my head somewhere. But I've got a bit of, I think I'm undiagnosed ADD, so I need to be doing something all the time, you know. So, mate, trying to stay still kills me.
Yeah, I kind of know the feeling, this idea of retirement, that you're just going to go and sit on some desert island and, you know, do nothing. I reckon I've got 36 hours of that in me before I'm just
100%.
like, just out of boredom, I just do something to annoy someone. Yeah. You know?
Well, that's me after 10 minutes.
We're in paradise here. Okay, well, I push someone in a pool just to like break the day up. You know?
I knew that's why I loved you.
Yeah, or like, you know, just I reckon after a week, you know, beautiful paradise, everyone's there, fancy. You're just going to steal a chip off someone's plate, or the turtle dauphinoise, just to get a reaction.
Get a reaction, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
I love that. That is right up my alley.
It's almost like a social experiment. That'd be a great TV show, that Paradise, and just put people in paradise, but they've got to stay there for 3 months and see what happens.
Oh, mate, you go cuckoo.
Yeah.
Actually, some people would probably love it.
I don't reckon they would. I reckon they'd lose their shit.
Yeah, I'm losing my shit thinking about it.
Yeah. Do you reckon you'd be able to take your mask there, the infamous mask that you...
Walter?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, mate, I got this... Like, mate, I don't know what it was. I was overseas. Have you seen, what's that one with... they put you get all dressed up. I can't remember the movie. I can't remember the movie. Anyway, I bought a mask. It was... If I put it on, you wouldn't know it was me.
Yeah.
So anyways, I bought this mask. It cost me a fair bit of money. I got it over. I got a mad outfit, and I thought, how am I going to get to use this? So I snuck over to my neighbour's house and just fell and jumped on his lounge because he was outside. And one of the blokes were in on it. There was about 8 other guys there. They all was sitting around a fire having a few beers. So I just laid on the lounge, and then my mate goes, mate, some old dude just broke into your house. He's laying on your lounge. So I just stayed asleep, and all these blokes come in, and anyway, they tried to start waking me up, and I've got my walking stick, I've got a fart machine, this, that, and that. But anyway, we had a bit of fun with it, and mate, these guys end up bloody calling the ambulance. I said, mate, they've called the ambulance. What are you going to do? I went, oh, shit, I've got to get up. So I had to quickly wake up so they could cancel the ambulance, and then mate, they tried to grab me, and I just took off, and these blokes started chasing me, going, holy shit, how what? This 80-year-old's that fast. Like, they couldn't catch me. Anyway, we had a ball. Mate, we just go around and play pranks on all the boys and have a bit of a laugh, and we stitch it up a bit, but it's hard to... You sort of need to have the video footage to understand it, but, mate, we have a great time with it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So, Walter, when was the last time he was out and about?
Well, one of my mates was ringing me up, and he goes, oh, we're going for a walk along the Esplanade, and a certain part of the Esplanade is pitch black. So I quickly got dressed up and went up into the dark part of the Esplanade where they were walking, and I could see him coming. So I started walking behind them, and then picked up my walking stick and tried to fight them all. They shit themselves, ran off. So I had a ball. Then I rang him up. I said, what are you doing? He goes, mate, you wouldn't believe it. There's an old bloke trying to fight everyone on the Esplanade. He just walked past your house. But, yeah, so that was probably the last time, about 3-4 months ago. So we have a ball. The boys film it, and we put it up on WhatsApp and have a bit of a laugh. Yeah, nice. So when you're not putting your fingers in all these pies, when you're not commentating, when you're not coaching, when you're not looking after players' finance, you're dressing up. Yeah, I like that. Mate, I'm a big believer you've got to be a big kid at heart, right? Yeah. So, someone always told me never grow up. And I was thinking about, I love having a bit of a practical joke and not taking life too serious,
That's it.
I think that was the best thing for me. With footy, never took anything too serious. Get out in the field. As soon as you cross the line, it was time to train. But when it was time to walk back across that line and training was over, it was about having a good time with your friends and laughing and creating memories. So, yeah, for me, I never want to lose that.
Yeah,
I think I've paid the price because my little fella's a nutbag. I think he's going to be the life of the party.
Yeah, nice. I think that's important. It was something Wayne Bennett said to us, actually. He's like, I never took myself too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's why everyone loves him. So every person I know that talks about Wayne Bennett, he never takes life too serious, or he's always cracking jokes at training and in videos, and just keeps everything lighthearted, right? Yeah. So and for me, I sit there and go, I would love to have been coached by him because they've been right up my alley.
Well, in team environments as well, like when the pressure's on, when the noise is happening from outside, when you're in the building, like, sometimes you've just got to have a laugh and a joke about
100%.
it. Because
100%. Otherwise, you take it too seriously, mate, pulling your hair out.
Lose the plot.
Yeah.
Like completely lose the plot. Mate, well, it's been great to talk about the now and what the future might look like. Yeah. But I want to take you back to growing up in Penrith, and you got to play for your boyhood club. I'm assuming you were a Penrith fan.
Massive.
Growing up.
I was a young kid, mate. All I ever wanted to do was play footy when I was a young kid. I went to school at Doonside Primary, then went to Blacktown Boys and over to Plumpton, and I was a massive Penrith fan. And I never really sort of went to class that often. If I had my time over again, I would definitely go back and listen a bit more at school. But I always just walked around with football in my hand. I was on the footy field at school, either kicking the ball around or mucking around some way or another. And the teachers always used to say to you, mate, what happens if footy doesn't work? No, it's going to work. It's going to work. I was a big believer in just throwing it out there, and anyway, it ended up coming true, right? And everyone just said, "Oh, only 1% of the people are going to make it," and we've been the lucky ones who got the opportunity to do it. But I just had this belief in being in a team environment and doing it with friends, and that's all I ever did when I was a young kid. I started at 3, and but I was at Penrith one day, and I remember catching the ball. I was standing on the hill at Penrith Hill. I'm spewing there, knocking down the new stadium because that Penrith Hill is going to be gone. But sitting on the Penrith Hill, catching the ball, I was thinking, oh, how cool is this? Imagine being out in the field, like kicking the ball and a young kid catching it. And then we used to always say to the boys, oh, did you hear that? They said, Luke Laws, can you come over? We've got an injury, you need to play. I used to always say it as a G-up, you know. And then,
your mates would say
yeah, so it's like we just G'd up. And the boys would say, oh, they'd say the same thing, but it was always the first person to get it in. And I used to always say, and we was, could you imagine it ever happened? And then all of a sudden, here you are, bloody, 2-3 years later, playing for a club that you absolutely loved, where you used to go every Saturday or Sunday arvo and watch them. You used to go there and watch Jersey Flag, Premier League, first grade. So you knew all the players coming through, and got Brad Fittler, Brad Izzard, and Cole Vandervoort, and Steve Carter, and all these guys that I used to watch. Robbie Beckett. It was amazing. And then one day, here I am playing with Steve Carter, Robbie Beckett, Matt Adamson. The list goes on and on. It was just a dream come true. So to have that opportunity to be a young Penrith supporter, play out there my whole junior career, and then get to play 12 years at a club that I loved, it was amazing.
Yeah, I bet it was, mate. And can you tell us that famous grand final when you were only 20 years old at your boyhood club? I can only assume you just you'd be literally thinking, is this an actual dream? Like, is this real?
Yeah, mate. It's funny. I remember 2002. So I made my debut 3 weeks to go, 2001, down in Melbourne, and then 2002 I was playing with a good mate of mine, Luke Rooney. He was he was the other winger in the side, and then there was a few players that all come through that we played SG ball with. It was Shane Rodney, and then Steve Turner, Danny Galea, Frank Pritchard. They all ended up playing a bit of first grade that same year, and guys that we played Jersey Flag with, Trent Waterhouse, Joel Clinton, all these guys were playing, and I think we ended up coming second last in 2002. We got flogged in round 1 by Parramatta, 64-6. And then all of a sudden, something clicked. 2003, all our leaders like Ryan Girdler, Craig Gower, Scott Sattler, Marty Lang, Preston Campbell, Luke Prittis, these kind of guys were just unbelievable. Tony Pulatore, just the list goes on. These guys you absolutely idolise. They played at a couple of different clubs, but they also played at, I was a young kid when they were playing at Penrith and they were going through hard times. And the leadership that was shown by these guys were mind-blowing, And they just got us on board with, like, what it took to be a first grader. And then all of a sudden, 4 games in, we started to win, and we went on a bit of a winning streak. And then it was just all of a sudden we were just scoring tries. We could just score tries from anywhere. So our whole game plan was basically really 5 up for a kick. It was pretty simple. But we had great forwards to get us down the field, and then Craig Gower and Preston Campbell would just make stuff up on the run. But it was basically, if you're going to score 20, we'll score 22. That was our whole plan behind it,
And what position did you came in as a wing?
Never played wing in my life, ever. I when I was a kid, I was playing, used to play 5'8", centre, every now and then get thrown in at lock. And then sort of maybe as I come through, played centre at SG Ball, and then someone got injured the week after our SG Ball grand final, so I ended up playing centre that week. And then the following week, I think it was Andrew Hinson in Premier League got injured, and then I ended up going into Premier League, and then Chris Hicks got injured on the wing for first grade. And Roy Simmons actually rang me up, and I was out having some hot chips with gravy at Rainbow in Doonside with a mate of mine, and I get a phone call from Royce. He goes, "Man, I'm taking you to Melbourne for your first grade debut." I was on my push bike at the time. I had to ride home on my pushy and told my mum. My mum said, "Oh, I've already know. He's already rang me to make sure it was okay. Like, you can go."
Oh, really?
So that was sort of, oh wow, what's going on here? So next thing you know, my mum was driving me up to training up in Penrith to play me, me first week in first grade. So it was just happened that quick.
And he told you you're playing on the wing.
And he said, "Mate, I'm going to play on the wing." So I ended up playing wing, and mate, stayed there for probably 3-4 years. But I reckon it was the best thing that happened to me, because I got to learn the game at the top end, being out wide and not getting into all the contact, but I learnt how defensive structures worked, and how game plans worked, and what was important to win games at that kind of level. Get used to the speed of the game. It was the best thing that happened to me. And then slowly sort of worked my way in, went to centre. Then Matty Elliott come over, ended up playing 5'8", halfback, threw me into lock and back row, and then just ended up playing everywhere. And then finally found a position sort of towards the midway through my career.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
Yeah, it is a strange sort of start on the sting. Most people, like you would think, you start potential fullbacks on the wing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's 100% what it's like.
Well, if you're a fullback, you start on the wing and you sort of get used to the speed of the game and getting under the high ball and understand how it's working. And then when your fullback's sort of gone, you're the next one up, right? But one position I never played was fullback, but I got moved back there a couple of times when I was in the game. But I don't think I started fullback. But I don't know if I'd like fullback.
How'd you go under the high ball on the wing?
I didn't mind it, mate. To be honest with you, Craig Gow was, like I said, mate, awesome leader. But he used to say to me and Runes, be down at the train. So if we trained at 8 o'clock, be down at the field at 7. We've got to catch 50 balls. So we'd catch 50, we'd diffuse 50, and then we'd do attack 50. So he'd just be putting crossfield kicks up all the time. And then when he's in the middle of the field, we'd be getting dummy half passes from Pritis, who'd be out there working on his game. Gow would be working on his kicking game, and me and Runes were the catchers. So he'd be putting up every sort of bomb you'd ever seen. So when it come time to do it in a game, it was easy. It becomes second nature.
Yeah. So yeah, you win the grand final at 20 years of age. Like I say, it must have felt almost like
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny. I got to play.
Like, is this a dream? Like, you'd be scared that it's actually a dream.
I played in grand finals as a kid. Never won one. Played in an SG Ball grand final 2 years before, and we were up by 20 and we got beat by Newcastle. And we were up by 20 at half time, and Newcastle come back and beat us. And my first grand final I ever won was NRL grand final.
Wow. And
it was my first grand final, obviously with Penrith, and then, mate, doing the lap of honour, thinking, how good's this? But it hit me the next day. Here I am sitting Mad Monday. We had a dress-up party. I think it was gangster theme or whatever it was. Here we are all dressed up. We've got the trophy there, thinking, mate, how good's this? I'm only a kid. We got heaps of these to go, you know. We'll get to play in a heap of grand finals. And then that afternoon you get a phone call saying, mate, you've been selected in the Kangaroo Tour, 2003 Kangaroo Tour. Never in my wildest dreams, I always dreamt of playing for Australia, but never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd get to go on a Kangaroo Tour with players that I'd absolutely idolised my whole life. You know, and it just all happened so fast. And then you had Origin, the following year, State of Origin come up. And then, again, I'm a young kid, I'm playing New South Wales, and I remember sitting back after a try and looking down the field, and there's a Queensland group just standing there and thinking, am I really on the footy field right now playing State of Origin? Like, everything happened fast, right? And then I slowly started to get some injuries, and it all caught up with me, and then it made me appreciate what I actually got to experience, and it also gave me a lot of drive the back end of me, sort of midway through my career to get back there. So there was a lot of really good times, a lot of low times, but I think it was the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that you only really appreciated it like many years later.
100%.
It's interesting you say that.
I don't think at the time you actually you don't put yourself in the moment, whereas it took me a lot of time to understand to be in the moment. There was one start, I remember I never played a test in my first Kangaroo Tour. I played in a warm-up game against France and England A, I think it might have been, or whatever it was. And I remember sitting in the change room, and there was Darren Lockyer and Shane Webke and Petro Seven-Seaver and Robbie Kearns, and the list just goes on. And here I'm putting my Australian shorts on, sliding my Australian socks up. I'm thinking, well, am I really in this room right now of all these blokes? I'm running out to play a game of footy with these guys that had just been like superheroes of rugby league, you know. And there I was out there playing with them. But again, it wasn't classed as a test. But that appreciation later, at the time, if I could have just took photos or something, I've got that image in my head. I understand how it worked, but I haven't got any memories of it because back then they never had camera phones. You know? So now you can sort of get a bit of capture of everything. But it was the best thing that happened to me because it gave me the drive as I got older.
Yeah. So fast forward to, I think it was end of 2012. You told you've got to leave your boyhood club. I can remember that and because I think Penrith were going through a tough time around those years.
Yeah.
But for me, it seemed odd that they were going to get rid of their best player or allow their best player to leave.
I just signed a new deal too at the time. It was hard. It was a hard one at the time. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd leave Penrith.
Yeah.
Never in my
So
all
just
I
to
ever
be
wanted
sure
to do.
you'd signed a long-term deal.
Yeah, so I just signed a 4-year deal. And actually just bought a block of land, just about to build our dream home. About 2 weeks prior to getting our concrete slab poured, we got sort of told that probably need to leave. It was hard because there was 5 guys in the team at the time that had salary cap increases in their contract. So if the salary cap went up, the percentage of your contract went up.
Yeah, so ratchet clause.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were signed as you were on a monetary figure, but it was representative of the percentage of the salary cap.
That's right. So if the salary cap went up to 10 million, you get 10% or whatever it was, right? I don't even know if they were the numbers. That's just the.
Yeah. So for example, if the salary cap was $1 million and you were on 50 grand, and then it went to $2 million, you get 100 grand. So you'd be representative of like 5% of the cap.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and there was 5 of us in there. Anyway, for the club to move forward and not get hammered with the salary cap, a few of us had to leave.
Yeah, so they had too many players.
That had the same thing, right? I was thinking, wow, this is crazy. Anyway, so long story short, I played Origin and then ended up getting released. There was other stuff that went on that I don't feel comfortable talking about.
That's fair.
But I got you got pushed out. But I understand now, looking back and understanding the business side of things on how it all worked, I don't hold any grudges against it at all. You know what I mean? So it was tough, but it is what it is. But I do believe there's one door closed, another one opens, right?
Well, I think most relationships can end poorly or end on a bad note. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you look back and focus on the end point.
No, that's
you
right.
Focus on like what once was.
Yeah. But at the same time, it puts so much stress on me, right? So we played a game and I ended up making a tackle. My neck sort of went all stiff. And I didn't know what was going on. Anyway, so I didn't think anything of it. I just thought my neck had spasmed up. So they sent me in to get some x-rays and couldn't get any an MRI. And normally when it's like footy, we get sort of straight in, right? But they said the only thing we get you in is a CT scan. So I got a CT scan and then they found this lump on my thyroid. So I ended up having thyroid cancer at the time. I reckon personally it come up with stress. I thought it was, but wouldn't have a clue. All of a sudden, next thing you know, I was playing footy. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in RPA hospital getting my thyroid cut out because I got cancer, and I just had signed just agreed to terms with the club. So I had to tell Shane Flanagan that, mate, look, I've got cancer. He goes, mate, don't worry about it. Just go and get yourself sorted. I said, I promise you I won't let you down. And anyway, that's sort of all happened at the same time. But before I signed with the Sharks, my wife, so I'm just rewinding back a couple of weeks here, my wife was sleeping next to me and we're going through all this drama with my contract not being there, just finished out of Origin, getting a release now, effective pretty much immediately. And then all of a sudden, I had a dream middle of the night at the Sharks. I won the grand final with the Cronulla Sharks. And it's the only reason why I made the decision to go to the Sharks, because Petro Sevenasiva said to me, because I rang him up because I trust him so much, and I said to him, what do I do? Can you give me any tips on how do I pick the right deal or the right contract? At the time, I had a lot of contracts lined up and some really good ones with really good money. He said to me, whatever you do not sign the contract based on money. He goes, go to where you think you're going to play your best footy and where you feel like you're going to be the happiest. He goes, because then money will come. I go, okay. So I sat back, and then that night's when I had my dream. And I had a dream to go to the Cronulla Sharks, and I went to the Sharks, and lo and behold, I got to win the grand final. So weird world out there, mate, but it's that's sort of how it all unfolded.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
What a whirlwind couple of months.
Yeah, that whirlwind, it was unbelievable. When I knew I was going to the Sharks, I went out and I was looking for a couple of places just to rent so I could get out there. But there was a lot of stories going around that I'm not playing because my neck's stiff because I was looking too much real estate, this, that, and the other. But I tried to keep it quiet that I had cancer. Really? I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me, anything like that. So I tried to keep on the DL as long as possible. So I probably held it in for probably maybe 6 to 8 weeks before people started to find out about it. And then all of a sudden it got out there. So I had to go quickly hit the nail on the head. And I was on the TV show called The Game Plan. Channel 10, I think it was. Can't remember if it was Channel 10, but Andrew Moore was the host. And, he helped me get it out there the right way so everyone knew what was actually going on.
Obviously, when you hear that word cancer, I can only assume you were just overcome with emotion, but asking a lot of questions. Was it ever potentially terminal, or
No, I don't.
just...
Look, to be honest with you, when they told me cancer, it didn't affect me straight away. It was like, I think they got the wrong dude. Do you know what I mean? I think they've got the wrong name. I think they've probably rang the wrong person. But but I just went with it. I told my wife and my mum, and they obviously lost it. They freaked out. But for me, it happened so fast. I was like, mate, you got cancer. I was in the hospital, got surgery, it was done.
And they cut it out completely.
Cut it out completely. And they only had it there. The doctor said it was.
You can't just say I only had it there.
It was just. Obviously that's where your thyroid is, right?
Yeah,
but it was weird. I just went in, got it, and it was. I was sort of in and out, and it was just. It happened so fast. It was just all over. All of a sudden, mate, I couldn't play footy. My biggest disappointment is I couldn't play footy for the next 6 to 8 weeks and say thank you to all the Penrith fans that supported me for all the years, and it was just hard because you didn't want to tell anyone what it was either at the same time, So that was hard to hold it back for a while, but it finally ended up coming out, and mate, the Penrith fans have been amazing. Every time I go there, I still get people come up and have a chat and talk footy, and it's great, So, but yeah, for me, it was like it wasn't really me. But then probably 12 months, so you fast forward, say 12 months later, and I'd played, and then I used to get a blood test every 3 months. And then they said, oh, mate, you're going to have to go in for radioiodine, which is you go into a room for 4 or 5 days. They give you like a little tablet you take, and so you're radioactive, and it just kills off the rest of whatever's left in there. So I sat in my room for 4 or 5 days, couldn't have any visitors. The doctors couldn't even come in. They basically sort of give you the food, and they come in like full suit, so they didn't take any radiation off you, and you're just locked away. It was like you're in sort of, but it was peaceful, and it was mate. I got to sit in there and I wrote down all my goals and what I wanted to achieve, and mate, I'm a bit of a weirdo like that when it comes to setting goals and making sure I could follow it and sort of try and execute it. And my biggest thing is I just didn't want to let the Sharks down. Don't let the Sharks down. Remember the dream, and the dream was obviously win the grand final in the Sharks colours. So they end up working out perfect in the long run. Yeah.
At the time you went to the Sharks, they were in the headlines for the wrong reasons as well. Did that happen after you got there?
Yeah, it happened.
It all came out.
Well, it happened before I got there, but it all came out when I got there.
Yeah.
But it was quite easy for me. Like I went over, I had Michael Gordon, Bo Ryan, Chris Heinington and myself all went over at the same time. So us four, we ended up sort of having coffees all the time together because we were sort of segregated when all that ASADA stuff happened at the Sharks, But for me, the hardest part for me was seeing all your teammates go through what they were going through. It was quite hard on them mentally. And then you didn't really know what to say because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what questions they were getting asked. I had no idea. So didn't know if I was being a good friend, what I was doing, but they couldn't talk about it because they weren't allowed to also. So it was a tough time in some ways, but for me, going through what I went through just prior to all that, it was a walk in the park. It was like, okay, just rock up, do what you got to do, train. Hopefully everything sort of sorts itself out. But there were stages there I was starting to think, are we going to have a team to play in? Because there was talking about coach going and talking about the club may fold. There was so much stuff going on,
Yeah, there was a lot of noise around that time. Yeah, I can recall a lot of noise, we're talking like years worth of bans.
Yeah, everything.
You could have been there and, over 50% of the squad could have been wiped.
Been gone. You wouldn't have knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But then we got through it. I think we come last in 14. And then 15, we got started getting some really good players over the club. Mickey Ennis just come over, and Benny Barber, and all these boys were there, and mate, the club slowly started to turn. But when we won, ended up winning the comp. I think all that heartache that we went through actually made it really appreciate what we did. So I'm always a big believer that you got to go through a little bit of heartache and a bit of hard times to appreciate the good. And I think that was their heartache that we had to go through. And then when we did win it, it was awesome.
Yeah, well, I think the tough moments in life make you better for the experience.
Oh, 100%.
And knowing that you can get through it. It's not just resilience, but it's anti-fragile. I actually read about it in this book.
Yeah.
It's not resilience. There's fragile, which you break under pressure. There's resilience, which withstands pressure. And then there's anti-fragile, which actually you get stronger under pressure.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes time for that to manifest.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's ultimately what happened in your case and in your club or your football team or your organisation space as well. And it happens to a lot of, people who are seemingly at the top of the game, and a lot of people, they only see that tip of the iceberg. They don't see what's underneath.
Well, they've 100%.
And all that, being knocked back, being told no, being told you can't, that's all part of it, that drive that makes you who you are.
Absolutely.
And going through those crappy times makes you appreciate the good times and drives you to that place, because I don't believe a red carpet for anyone is a good thing. A red carpet through life, you're not going to get the desired results, because there's someone out there, there's some kid that's really hungry and is willing to go that extra mile because they've been through the shit. So they know what the shit's like, and they don't want to go back to the shit.
100%.
If you've just had that red carpet...
Yeah, it's too easy. It's not. What's the point, right? But it's funny you say, because I remember when I left Penrith, there was people said, "Oh mate, you're never going to play semi-finals again. You won't play state of origin. You probably won't play any rep football. You're never going to be. You're never going to win a grand final. And you're only going to really be remembered for what you do in the last 5 years of your career." And I went, okay, there's my motivating factor right there. You know what I mean? So for me, I had that in the back of my head the whole time I was there. Proving people wrong. And
how good is it? How good is proving people wrong?
It's the best feeling in the world. I think it's just, it's not like it's a little bit of arrogance, but in saying that, I think you need it too. You need people to tell you that it's not possible, so you can go, yeah, well, watch. You know what I mean? So that was, for me, that was a massive motivating factor.
Yeah. It's crazy that the motivational side of things, especially with young athletes. I've said this so many times to so many guests on here about, like, you hear, for example, Jonathan Thurston, he'll say, "Oh, I was told all the time, you're too small, you'll never make it." And perhaps he was, but I wonder if by design someone said that. Like, so if you're out there and you're coaching youngsters, is the right thing to do to tell them they're going to be great? Or should you tell them, I don't know if you're going to make it? To test them. I think you need a bit of both.
100%.
You need a bit of love.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop.
Yeah,
right?
you need a bit of love about, like, you're going really well, and, the sky's the limit kind of thing. But I think the best ingredients for the best result is a little bit of people close to you saying, nothing's going to come of it.
Very hard for you to do it.
Oh, yeah, imagine that. You just go around coaching, anyone out there listening, coaching some kids. You're all rubbish. No one's going to make it. You might as well go home. Yeah. Like, half of them go off crying to their parents.
Next thing you know, they're coming in the grand final.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Motivational speaking with James Graham and Luke Lewis. You're all rubbish. Yeah. Obviously, you went on to win the grand final with the Sharks. I know you're a very close group. Obviously, you hold Shane Flanagan in very high regard. Can you talk to us about some of the larrikins within that team? Jimmy Maloney, obviously, as well.
Did you ever play with Jimmy?
No, I didn't. I've met him around the traps a couple of times. I heard some good tales, but I believe he was a big reason as to why you got the championship.
Oh, mate, absolutely. He's just a winner for starters. He's a larrikin, but he's a winner. But we had a great side. Benny Barber was playing awesome, and Mickey Ennis. I love Mickey. He brought back the love of the game for me, the way that he played and understanding of the game. But Jimmy was a never serious ever. So we could be in the most serious meeting, and he would come up with some sort of G-up or some sort of joke. And I remember we got beat early in the year, and Jimmy just pulls out and Flano's talking, blowing up, and as you do as a coach, right, you're a bit disappointed. And Jimmy just opens his packet of chips, like something big of chips or whatever, and just crackling everywhere. And he's going, chewing it, and Flano's just looking at him, what's going on? Like, he didn't give a shit. He was awesome. But mate, there was times where we were in the gym and everyone was like, you're just sort of on edge and things are like feeling a bit of pressure. So Jimmy would have like the remote for the stereo. And so Andrew Gray would be talking, so he'd turn the stereo on full bore or halfway through combo, just shit like that, like. But everyone knew what was going on except for the boys, except for like the coaching staff. And mate, we were in hysterics, And then anyway, he goes, all right, boys, we need a big lift this weekend. So we're all lifting, heavy in the gym or whatever. And here's James Maloney, won't lift a weight, won't do a squat, won't do nothing. But he goes, he plays like the floor is lava, so he's not allowed to touch the floor. So he climbs around the gym like he's not allowed to touch the floor, So just shit like that. And he'd do it for 40 minutes while everyone else is training. And he goes, how was the session, boys? And he'd just walk out with his shirt off and, just a larrikin, But put him on the footy field and come up with a play when it needed to be right. And, yeah, he was a genius, mate. He was just awesome. I remember there was one time actually he just said, boys, scrap everything that the coaching staff just said. We're not doing that this weekend. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a nutbag, mate. And we just followed him, whatever he said. So we trusted in Jimmy and Chad Townsend to get us our game plan right. And, mate, he never put on any of the plays that we practiced that week. He goes, no, we're not doing it this week. We haven't practiced enough. We're not doing it. And then we just believed in him and he did it. And then grand final night, we were behind at one stage. We were in front the whole game. Then all of a sudden we were behind. And he comes up like he never, like whenever Jimmy speak, you sort of took a bit of a grain of salt because he was always a G up. But he said at that one particular point in time, boys, we knew everything wasn't going to go our way tonight. Not everything was going to go our way. We've had a great run up to now. He goes, give me 5 of our best defensive sets that we've done all year and I promise you we'll win. So we kicked off and just been bash Melbourne for 3 or 4 sets. We got the ball back, a couple of repeat sets, and then Mickey Ennis comes up with that play. Fifita scores under the post and we win. But that sort of 15 minutes that was set up there all come from off the back of Jimmy talking to us behind the try line. He's a great leader.
That's crazy that the impact that you can have in adversity.
Yeah.
Because it takes a real leader to stand up when the shit's hitting the fan. It's volatile. You're out there. No one knows where to turn to. There's some young lads in that team, heads are down, the dream's fading. Hang on a minute, lads, this is what I need from you.
Yeah, we knew this was going to... It was like he knew. He goes, it was like he knew. He goes, we knew this was going to happen and we're going to be in this situation. He goes, now it's time for us to do this. Give me 5 of our best defensive sets. The way that he said it too wasn't like he was just fluffing over it. He was direct. He looked at everyone in the eye and got it sorted and everyone just bought into it without even knowing. It was like... It was the perfect, what he said at the time was just, everything was just perfect. And then we executed and we got it done.
So you and your Clive Churchill, it's all down to Jimmy's talk.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. No, mate, it was crazy, man. It was just the whole week was crazy. You walk into a cafe and, mate, there was standing ovations and, people buying your coffees and paying for your lunches. And, it was just a great experience. And, then we went to, I remember grand final, I'm walking around with my daughter in a pram and people are telling me to go home, you got to rest up, you shouldn't be out, it's too hot at the moment. I just felt, I was so relaxed, I was so confident in our team and what we could do after the North Queensland win. And then, get on the bus and I look at Mickey and Mickey's just, packed his bag for the last time ever, he's retiring. Yeah. And he goes, Louis, I'm so nervous. I said, mate, don't worry, we'll win tonight, promise you. And I ended up falling asleep on the bus the whole way there. I slept. Oh, I was that relaxed. I knew things were going to happen. And, mate, we played a great game of footy. We didn't make any errors until sort of towards the end. We did everything we were going to work that we talked about during the week, and we were a little bit behind, come up with the right plays at the right time. Again, it's that that beautiful pass for Fifita. And, mate, I'm a true believer, even though I got the tap on the shoulder about getting the Clive Churchill medal, and I said on the night, that medal, I didn't see one bad player on the field that night. It was most amazing game of football I've ever been involved with. It was the fastest, most physical game of football that I've ever been involved in. And even with the Melbourne side, mate, there was so many, like every one of those players that are out there asked questions or not. They were unbelievable. Cam Smith done, 74 tackles. In the middle of the field, played 80 minutes. He's just a machine. But I seriously, I said on stage, I think that night, I said, this medal literally could go to anyone in this side, from 1 to 17. Like Jack Bird had an absolute binder. Val Holmes carried the ball like I've never seen before. Matt Pryor and Andrew Fifita up front were amazing. Mickey Ennis's passing game and defence in the middle was crazy. James Maloney was probably nearly best on field as well. But I
remember Michael Ennis's kick pressure that day was insane as well.
Insane, mate. We worked on it all year, and he just executed it that night perfectly. And mate, I've got it sitting at home, and it's, every time I look at it, it literally brings back so many great memories. You know, like my little fella pulls it out all the time and just plays with it. Thinks that, you know, he goes, I won, you know, come first in my race, and just mucks around with it. And but every time I take it off him, I look at it, mate, the memories of the smiles of Ricky Latelli and, you know, Sam Tagatese, you know, Jason Pakuya, these guys getting to experience grand final win, and mate, it just brings back awesome memories, man. So I was pretty stoked. I really believe that could have went to anyone on that night, you know. Yeah. So it was, I feel pretty blessed to get the tap on the shoulder.
Look, this is a stupid question, but which one means more to you?
I have to say 16. And the reason behind it is because it took me another 13 and a bit years to get there. And the understanding of what it took to be a first grader week in, week out, year after year, and how much has to fall into place to get to grand final night, and then how everyone has to be prepared, you know, feeling their best to play their best footy that night and actually get the win. Just the understanding of it, to actually sit back in 2016 after we won and appreciate it was amazing. You know, when I was 20, thinking, I thought we were going to play in the grand final every 2 or 3 years. That's just how I thought it was going to be, you know. But it, lo and behold, it's not how it works, especially in first grade.
No. Hey, obviously we've covered a lot in clubland. You were part of the New South Wales team as well for a long, long time, obviously during a period of Queensland dominance. Can you tell us about that 2014 series when you finally got to taste victory in the Sky Blues?
Yeah, look, for that win in 2014, it was probably the best feeling in the world when it come to representative football, because we knew we were coming up against the best Queensland team that's ever going to put on that Queensland jersey. They probably got 4 immortals in that side, you know. But the way that they played, you know, year in, year out, we'd always have one win. They never beat. I don't think they beat us a clean sweep. I can't remember beating a clean sweep. But we'll always get so close, but yet we're so far away. And then in 14, you know, to go, you know, win game 1 and game 2 was the best feeling in the world, purely because we can say we got to beat the best Queensland team that we ever play. So, you know, I'll look back on that and go, very blessed to be in that side. To play our best footy 2 games in a row and actually get that trophy back to New South Wales for the first time in a long time was pretty crazy, you know. And another good the thing for me and the memory it brings back is, you know, Trent Hopkinson down that left edge of that dummy, and he slides through, and you can the crowd and the feeling of when he went over, knowing that we only had to hold him out for another couple of minutes and we got the win, was a pretty special feeling, you know. So. Yeah, again, I look back on it and I just feel blessed that we got to beat the best team that ever played in our state of origin. Yeah,
it was a terrific play from Hocko, wasn't it? And I think it was him and Reynolds with a half-pass two of my teammates at the Bulldogs at the time. And yeah, I remember Trent had that kick, and that put you 2 scores in front.
Yeah, that's right. So
it was kind of one of them, wasn't it? It was like, it wasn't an easy kick, but it wasn't a hard kick. It was sort of like,
it was one of those ones that you had to, that everyone expected him to kick it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a real easy kick, especially with the amount of pressure that's on him, right? So that was pretty cool. And I'm good mates with Hocko as well, you know. So, mate, to see him get those accolades, it was awesome. But to be a part of it as well, pretty cool.
Yeah. What about some of those series where Queensland were just so dominant? Like, is that tough to take, or it's justified by just the, you know, like you say, 3 or 4 future immortals?
No, not really.
I know, obviously, you know, that brings in the external noise about, and it's still happening to this day, you know, the passion debate.
Yeah. I hate the passion debate, because everyone's going to have their own opinion anyway, right? At the end of the day, I know how I feel about the jersey, but it's very hard to paint that picture of how I feel about the New South Wales jersey. But if you asked me to go out and play for New South Wales today because someone was injured, I'd run out there tomorrow. But if you asked me to do it for Queensland, I couldn't do it, because I love that sky blue jersey. I don't have any hatred against Queensland at all. I don't have that. I think Queensland have the hatred against New South Wales, but I have so much passion for the person who played in the jersey before me, and the players I looked up to, like, you know, Brad Fittler, Andrew Johns, you know, Danny Badiris. You know, there's a list that goes on and on and on. But for me, it was about representing them. And I look at that blue jersey, and it still brings back memory of all those guys I just mentioned, you know. So I don't know if they have a different sort of perspective on it, but for me, it was about the player who played in the jersey before me.
So your level of passion couldn't go any higher.
No, that's right. So I absolutely love that blue jersey. But it does get you goals. But at the end of the day, what do you do? Like, everyone's going to have their own opinion purely because, I don't know, they will never experience. I find a lot of the people who say that won't get that experience or understanding of putting that jersey on and running out in front of that crowd and understanding how hard it is out in the footy field, So you can't criticise them for that because it's not their fault they didn't get that opportunity. You know what I mean? So I sit there and I bottle it up a little bit, but it sort of bothers me a little bit. But at the end of the day, I know how I feel about it, so that's all that matters.
In terms of the Origin games, just how much more intense is it than a,
You know what's funny?
You say let's go back to that grand final. Which is harder, Origin or that GF, or is that like, I know that's a stupid question, but it's in the same ballpark because not every Origin is the same. Like
you know what's funny? I'll be honest with you. Origin got this picture on how brutal it is, but because the game's so quick, it's actually not as brutal as you think. There's some big shots in it, but you can go play a game, say against the Melbourne Storm, right, and get 3-4 in a tackle all the time, and mate, you go, oh, fuck, that hurt. But in State of Origin, you're running that hard and that quick. The tackles, you've got 2 in the tackle, you're down and up. Very rarely are you getting proper bashed. But the speed of the game, for the step up from, just to a normal first grade game, you know how fast it is, right? Go from first grade to State of Origin, it's 2 or 3 yards quicker. You know what I mean? So, mate, being able to play at that speed at high intensity for 80 minutes, it is the best challenge in the world, especially when it comes to mentality. When you're out on your feet, you're tired, and you have to come up with that little play, or you have to do something for your teammates. That's the true test of where you are mentally. But physicality wise, you just handle it. It's bizarre. It's weird.
You almost don't have a choice.
You don't. It's like it just happens. It's fast. It just goes. But all the brutality too, I reckon, used to come back from when you were a young kid. You watched the games. It was brutal. Head highs and shoulder charges, and it was punch ups, and that was brutal back then. But as I played it, that was never there.
Yeah, were you there with Gallen and Miles?
I was actually in the tackle at the time, and I got up at mark and I took off to go to the play. I look back and it's all on. I didn't get to see the first 2 punches, and then got to watch the replay and then see Gallard sort of jab and then go back with his right. But he sort of stopped all the fights. But at the end of the day, I sit there and think the punch should still be allowed, because I don't think we'd see halves or 5/8 or little hookers just throwing water on people and getting cheeky. And I don't think we would see as much pushing and shoving at the moment, to be honest.
So bring back the punch.
Bring back the punch and just turn the TV off for a minute, go to an ad or something, I don't know. But, mate, just let them get it on and get it over and done with, and I don't think we'd see as much crap, to be honest.
It's interesting you say that, because it has brought in some of the shithouse tactics.
Well, you get all these
pushing in
the head,
shoving.
It makes the game look dirty. For me, you'd rather just go, if they're going to get it, if someone's going to get up and push in the face, well, you're going to expect to get a bit of a clip.
Maybe
I don't think you see it.
Maybe we wouldn't see these 2-hour games.
100%. Especially in the South game. Could you imagine that South Roosters game before the end of the year? If they just got to have a big all in, they got it all sorted and just turned off the TV, and then that's it. Okay, it's done. Let's not do it again. Just get on with the job. You know what I mean? I don't think we see the push and shove and lay down and all that sort of stuff with it.
You make a good point, mate. You make a good point. Yeah. Is that obviously since, I guess, punching's always been banned, but then there was, within Origin it was sort of accepted, and then since that day, or since that Gallen and Nate Miles.
When I was a kid and I was coming home from school, I was going home to school to watch the Origin. I couldn't wait for the first fight. It's not like that you were a brutal kind of person. It's just I love that environment. Like, these guys are nuts. They're getting out there, they're playing for their state, they're going as hard as they possibly can, and they just want to get it on. I love that.
It is interesting that, because as a game where we've progressed to, I understand that people like me and you will watch anyway. We're lifers. Yeah. A lot of people out there resonate with that and go, I don't really care. Sorry, it's hard for me to envisage me not enjoying the sport. Yeah. You can take away the punches or whatever. So it seems like they're trying to appeal to a certain demographic. and a certain type of person to bring those new fans in. But then I think about, going to watch like an ice hockey match.
Best thing I've ever seen.
You're just waiting for them.
You're waiting for a fight. That's all you're waiting for. It's crazy. But look, there's always a method in every madness, right? I'm not too sure why they've done it. You're probably right when it comes to new fan engagement, but I don't know. I like the old game personally.
I know what you mean, and that's it. I don't watch ice hockey for the skill. I watch it. Yeah. Not that I ever watch it, but if I've been to a couple of matches.
Yeah, you want to see the fights, 100%.
To see them throw down.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Just quickly, just on the Sharks this year, what have you made of them? Obviously, you still have a level of involvement there. Do you think Fitzy's the right man, and how far do you think they are off another premiership? Look,
I love Fitzy, and I love what he's done with the group this year. They've only been together, really, when you think about it, 9 months, right? So they're still learning each other's game. I think they've got a lot of great leaders there, got a really good bunch of young kids, some guys have got experience this year. I think, are they disappointed they went out 2 weeks in a row? Absolutely. But I think they'll bottle that up. I think the Sharks in the next 2 to 3 years are in a great hands. Plus, you put in a couple of buys that they're going to maybe be able to get over the next 2 or 3 years. I think we'll push towards a grand final over, we could have went close this year if we had to get the win against North Queensland, which we didn't. But if we had to played our best game that night and we got a week off, who knows? We could have been there this year. But to go play 93 minutes and play against South is a very hard way to do it. Then have to back up against Penrith if you got through would have been tough. But I think they take this semi-final series as a bit of education, knowing what stones they sort of left unturned. And I think Fitzy will sort of really hone in on that in the off-season. And, mate, Fitzy and that whole coaching staff that they got there are amazing people, So I think the club's in awesome hands. And they've got some, like I said, great football in them, and I think they're going to get better over the next 2 to 3 years. So I think we'll see them in the grand final, maybe hopefully next year, but definitely the year after that.
I don't necessarily look at what's happened to the Sharks in these final 2 games as a bad thing.
No, 100%.
Had they have jagged the win and then not made it, they go away and pat themselves on the back. Where I think with what happens, it's okay. We can really learn from this, as opposed to the alternative where it's like, oh, we actually did all right. We're in the Final Four, so it's a successful year. We'll just do the same next year. I think it's a big learning curve. One of the teams that, if the Sharks are going to win a grand final, they're going to have to beat is another one of your old teams, the Penrith Panthers, who are,
best I've seen for a long period of time. I think they won, SG Ball this year. Looks like Jersey Flegg grand final, Premier League grand final. Panthers win on the weekend. It's an NRL grand final. Mate, they've got everything, down pat to a T. I think the way that they coach all the way through their whole system, through their junior grades, is perfect. And I look at Penrith at the moment, and they can win the game in so many different ways. They can win the game, with their attack. They can win the game with their defence. They can starve people, teams of possession. They can turn the screws when it needs to be done. Their kicking game's perfect. You've got attack on left and right. Nathan Cleary's got the game sort of so, sorted at such a young age. I think Penrith would have to be 20% off, and whoever they play have to play their perfect game of footy to beat them. So it's quite scary, right? But, mate, this Penrith side is probably the best I've seen for a long time.
Yeah, they're going to get their eyes picked out of them these next couple of years. Obviously, Coruscant moving on next season.
Massive loss.
Crichton.
Billy Army.
Kickow leaving. I think Crichton's off contract pretty soon as well. And, a lot of clubs are looking at him as a potential fullback. But, again, that production line just keeps on coming. Matt Burton left last year, and it's, who's going to
fill his role?
And then, Isaac Tago comes in, and who's Matt Burton?
I know. Isn't it crazy, right? But you look through that club, and again, like I said, SG Ball winning, and the amount of talent that they've got coming through there, they're a bit like Melbourne used to be, right? So remember how Melbourne used to always let someone go, and then you go, they probably will struggle next year. Then all of a sudden, these players that they've just sort of come in that you've never heard on are superstars. That's what Penrith got out there at the moment. They've got superstar after superstar after superstar, all young kids tied up that want to play for the club, which is awesome. So it makes me pretty proud as a Penrith junior to see what they're doing at the moment. So, you know, if it's not the Sharks winning it, it's good to see the Panthers going the way they're going. So fingers crossed now the Panthers win it.
Yeah.
So.
You spoke about the state of the game at the minute. Is there anything else you'd like to see change within the game, or any other comments on the game today?
No, not really, mate. I'm like you, mate. I'm just a massive fan of rugby league. I love it. I love watching footy. I love going to all the games. I don't like the dives. If there's anything I can get out, our game's created, people to take a dive now, and I think the only way we can get that out of the game is if the people at the top who created that uncreate it somehow. I don't know how they're going to do it, but that's the only thing that gets me sort of wound up a bit.
We did have a solution on the buy round.
What is it?
Make them leave on a stretcher. So if you fall to the ground, if you faint, if you're down with a suspected,
you have to get carried
off. Suspected crusher tackle, we've got to protect the neck. Make them leave on a stretcher with a neck brace. Do the old thumbs up. Yeah, I'm okay. I don't think they'll. No, I think they'll stay down.
Because no one wants to go off on a stretcher, right? Everyone hates it, but even like, I don't know, players that are running through knowing that, he's on my outside shoulder, I can just fall over here, and it's going to cause the bunker to look at a try, and they're going to say, well, letter of the law says he's running his outside shoulder, you got to take it off him, knowing that they had no chance of getting there to make the tackle. Stuff like that just it drives me wild. But mate, at the end of the day, as a player, they're just playing within the rules as well.
Yes, that's it. It's the environment has been set by the NRL. Yeah. They set the tone.
100%.
They create the environment. What's allowed, what's not.
That's it. And I put myself in that situation. If I was playing, and at the end of the day, I know what the rule is, and I can fall over here, and I know it's not going to be a try. Well, I'm doing it because
and the opposition would do exactly the same to you.
Absolutely. So
it's not the Lance Armstrong excuse of like, well, everyone's doing it, but it's within the rules.
It's within the rules, so do it. And then if it works in your favour, you do it right. So, but that's probably the only thing I'd love to see out of our game. Yeah,
actually, it's funny you say that, Louis, about no one wants to leave on a stretcher. Well, our mutual friend, Jeremy Latimore, his final year at the Dragons. I was out injured. I broke my leg. I'm on the sidelines. We were playing the Dragons were playing Canberra. Jerry's gone down.
Don't tell me you got a stretcher.
He got stretchered off his knee, and I think we were like 3/4 of the way through the season, and I can remember sitting there watching him in the coach's box and going, this is going to be it. I'm gonna have to drive Jeremy home here because he's going to be. I'm gonna not drive him because I thought he was going to go to hospital, but I thought I'm gonna have to have some get my words ready to put an arm around him here because it looks like his career's over. Yeah. And he's leaving on a stretcher.
Don't tell me you played next week.
I'm spinning the wheels. I'm like, what do I say? How do I say it? Do I comfort him? Do I take him? All these different emotions. Yeah. Anyway, I've gone out. Took a leak, come back, and then next minute he's running up and down the sidelines testing it out.
He's a nutbag.
He got stretchered off.
He's the biggest softy, eh?
Stretchered off, and then he's running up and down.
I'm gonna try and find it so I can show him tomorrow.
Mate, you find it. 2018, circa around 20 maybe. Dragons played Canberra. Jeremy Latimore stretchered off. Thought his career was done. He was retiring at the end of that season. Lo and behold, he's up and running down, jogging up the sideline.
And still playing now. Still playing footy down south.
Still playing footy down in Metagong.
He's unbelievable, that bloke.
Yeah, he is. He sure is. Well, Louis, thank you so much for joining us here on the Byron, mate. I've absolutely loved the chat. I'm excited about your future endeavours. You've got a lot of things happening at the moment, and no doubt with your desire, your passion, your connections and enthusiasm, they're going to come to fruition, mate. And the most important thing is you're doing it to make a difference. And that's what I like about people like you. You're not doing it for self-interest. You're doing it to help others, and you want to make a positive difference in society. It's absolutely outstanding, mate, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Mate, you're a good man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a great day.
Cheers, Louis.
Thanks,